8 months of having 6.1, Midjourney has finally dropped the much anticipated version 7. We're going to talk about the most important thing, that it is the first model to have personalization turned on by default. And you must unlock the personalization to use it. So it takes about 5 minutes and you can toggle on or off anytime. And we think personalization raises the bar on how you can interpret what you want to find most beautiful. So it's basically pushing what Midjourney 6.1 had with personalization a step forward. We're going to now directly jump into the create. If you go right over here on the top, you're going to see in the create section, there is a new P option. This is the personalization option. But if you go to personalize directly, you're going to see that you have a V6, but you also have the V7s. So if you've already ranked, since if you've done watch party ranks for the V7, then you should have already had some rankings. If not, you would have to do the ranking yourself, and then this will give you the V7 profile. It's a completely different style, and you can activate it by clicking the on. The minute you do that, you can actually see it shows up over here on the top. Now, this is active by default. There's a new feature that Midjourney is touting as the draft mode, where it is half the cost of the render images at 10 times the speed. So it is fast and it changes the prompt part to a conversational mode. It's kind of like ChatGPT-ish, but it doesn't give you answers back with like text, but only images. It also says it automatically manipulates the prompt to start a new job, click draft mode, and the microphone. And this is what we're going to try out. So exactly over here, you can see there's a draft mode. And then when you click on that, you're going to be prompted with this thing. Welcome to draft mode. Draft mode helps you move faster. You can see an example over here, how it is. So cute poodle in a flowering cactus garden. Perfect. Can you make it landscape? And then it changes accordingly. It's not doing the job of holding on to the specific thing, but it's changing everything behind it. Work how you think. Speak or type. Enhance drafts to the highest quality later. So essentially you do the draft and then you go into the later part to enhance it. And this is how it's going to look like. So we go and begin. And then the minute you click on draft mode, this is what happens. You see, you get a new voice chat. And I'm actually going to try to do that. Can we have Sam the cat? And there you go. Just immediately, I didn't even do anything. I just said Sam the cat, a fluffy tabby with green eyes sitting gracefully. This is basically made its own prompt. Like initially, if you've been in the Midjourney space, you know that prompting has always been an important part of Midjourney and also making your specific images. But now you can literally speak your mind and it can work through it. As you can see, this is also using my profile and it's going in the aspect ratio. So I have my personalization on to my current default profile. And then if I'm turning off the draft mode, you can see that right over here, you have the version 7. Now that's another thing that you want to make sure that you have the version 7 on and you have standard or draft. Now we can see this is Sam the cat. But if we go back to the draft mode and I can say, can we have Sam the cat sitting in a metro station? And if you remember from my Sam the cat from a while ago, I actually have a video about that. That video is from a while ago. So if you still want to check it out, you can still check it out right over here. But I'm using Sam the cat as a reference, which is why I have this over here. So it is rendering as you see, like it's getting as fast as possible. Now, I do not like the specific style, and I'm also going to do one thing. I'm actually going to turn off my personalization. I'm going to say, can we change the background and have it more photographic? Probably a little more cinematic. Can we change the background and have it more cinematic? It's also very interesting that it doesn't. So you basically have to just pause a little bit and then it just does the prompt. As you can see, it adds on top of it. So kind of like how we have already seen in the past. And again, you can check the playlist I have over here for all the previous Midjourneys I've done. This is what you would call additive prompting. So you're not actually doing the prompting. Now it's just being done for you. That's exactly what it is. So it's made it and it's more poetic in the sense that I was looking for. You can see that it's exactly the way it is. Now what I'm going to say on top of this, and this is how we're going to use the draft, and we're just going to keep using the voice so you can see how it is. Literally just speak. Okay, now can we have a Sam the cat sitting on a busy street in Mumbai? So another very interesting thing that we are noticing now is that obviously this is additive. So it does add. And as you can see, it does say that the personalization can be turned on or off. So if you see, this is with my global personalization. And then I'm going to try another version, same exact thing, but with my personalization on. I'm just curious to see how that would affect. That's also under a draft. So you can see this one has my personalization profile on. Again, in order to have that personalization, you just need to go, you click on that ranking. Obviously, you have the mood boards, and we're going to cover that in another video. But for now, I'm just doing a deep dive into the draft mode and what it's all about. It is not a full resolution. If you see, this is showing the busy streets, but in a more illustrative style. Any of the faces in the background are a little bit warped. So in that case, what we're going to do is I'm going to still continue with this same example. Now this is beautiful. Can we make this entire scene more cinematic and realistic, photorealistic? That's really wonderful. It also, one thing is that it happens instantaneously. If we actually go back to the updates and see the details over here, it says that it can swap out the cat with an owl. We're going to try that just shortly, not exactly with an owl, but you can also see that the voice mode, you can think out loud. So it's kind of, just think of it like a note taking, where you're actually able to think the speed of your thought, and you can just deliver multiple iterations, because that's exactly how prompting is all about. You never do one shots. So this is a brilliant way to just hone in and find your specific image that you're looking for, and is the best way to iterate on ideas. Exactly. So there obviously, as they've mentioned here, that there are going to be other features that's going to be rolled out in the future. Mood boards and SRF work, and performances will improve with subsequent updates. So those will work, but they would obviously be, we'll have to look into it later on. And this will be getting new updates every week or two in the next 60 days. So you're going to be seeing a lot more updates. And that means you're also going to be seeing a lot more video from my side about Midjourneys in general and version 7. Now, this one feels a lot more kind of like what I would like in the busy streets of Mumbai. But what if I wanted it to be enhanced? So at that point, what we're going to do is you're going to be clicking on this over here, which is the enhance. Now, what enhance should be doing is it should essentially upscale it. But if it doesn't happen, then you click on one image and then you can say upscale, creative, or subtle. Now, I don't want to do it too much. So it's basically from the same thing we had in the past. So it creates a larger version of the similar image, ideal for creating, sharing, saving, or printing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on upscale and I'm going to do subtle, not creative. Creative adds a little more touch of Midjourney and it sways a little bit off from what you want. So I'm going to go to subtle, and that's going to break our upscale. So you could see upscale just changes the whole thing over there. We do not actually have a fast per se, so it has relaxed and turbo. If you see right over here, they've also mentioned that turbo and relaxed are the ones that are available now. Our standard speed mode needs more time to optimize, and we hope to ship it soon. So the standard is not yet available. And just remember that turbo costs 2 times more than the normal jobs that you would have in V6. We started with our prompt right over here with the cat, and then I built on top of it. I want to push this and I want to see how much more I can go. So I'm going to go back again to the draft mode, and then I'm going to click. So the thing is, when you click on the voice, you need to be very cognizant when you do the start of the prompt or the conversation and the stop. If you keep talking, it's going to keep adding. But the minute you stop, it basically just does the enter, like you would click on an enter. So draft your thoughts here. So it's a very nice way of changing the conversation. So here it says, what will you imagine? Here it says, draft your thoughts. And you can see whether your personalize is on or not by seeing this P. If it's not highlighted, that means it's off. But if it is highlighted, that means it's very nice, subtle details in UI. I feel like those are some really nice things that are happening here. In any case, I'm going to just go back over here. I'm going to turn off the thing over here, and I'm going to say, let's just do this in a draft and see how this one you would seek. So I'm going to go back to this in draft again. And then from this, I'm actually going to build again. So let's click on the microphone. Now let's think of Sam the cat sitting in Mumbai street, but it is heavily raining like a monsoon rain. Make it very hyper-realistic, photographic. Now you can see every single time that you see the prompt, it is adding on top of the prompt without me having to even consider the prompt. Now, obviously, this completely changes the dynamic and thought process of how you want to be creating prompt structures. But I would still say that you should still have your specific way of prompting, which should be the subject preference, then the lighting, then the focus of the camera, all of those things. But clearly, if you're using the draft mode to iterate your ideas, Midjourney is essentially using its own way to kind of enhance whatever you're giving as a conversation, because whatever I said is not what is showing up over here. And then you can see it has created a lot more aesthetic that looks like these are images that would, okay, let's say if I wanted to enhance this specific image, because this looks like it's an image that could be in Mumbai. By enhancing, it's not necessarily upscaling the same exact image. So I'm suspecting it's going to be a different image just slightly. And then this one is also another cute, epic one. It looks very drenched. What if I also enhance this image? And then you can see it also would enhance over here. Now, these are, again, without the personalization. But if I wanted to do it with, again, the personalization on, you can have the profile on. But if you also have your own mood boards, again, you can combine your mood boards pretty standard like you've done in the past. I'm going to be talking about how you can make a mood board in another video. So feel free to subscribe so you can be tuned in for when I make a video about that, because I'm going to have a lot more videos coming out about this. And for the remaining part of the video, I'm going to actually be using on the turbo mode. Just be mindful. I'm going to be basically taking the same cat. So let's say I want to do this specific one. I want to go with this one and my personalization is on. Now this is, again, this is not a draft. So this is now standard. So you have more options here if you want to like upscale, if you want to remix, if you want to zoom, pan, the usual. But this is what essentially Enhance would do. So this is an upscaled version of that cat that we had initially. So if we look at that cat over here, you can see this cat resolution is not as high. This actually has been upscaled, even though the details are really nice. And I like the way that the light is casting in the background and everything looks really sharp. Now, obviously, this will change when you see the just very simply between my style and between this, the difference is tectonic, if anything. Do I like it? Again, it's not exactly my kind of a style if I do like it or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to be, again, it's all about an iteration. But then again, I'm going to do another thing is I'm actually going to now change the entire topic. But before that, I'm going to click on enter here. And now we are on turbo, so you could see it's immediately happening as fast as possible. But I'm actually going to go on draft again, and I want to create something completely different a little bit. Now I have my profile on and I have the stylization to 100. I kind of like these images. Probably I'm going to take this one over here because this one feels like it has a little more energy. And then you can see this image over here. And then you can just go over here and you can go and click on upscale. If you see upscale, then you can just click on subtle. Now that is obviously the use case scenario that you can see, but I want to test it with some of the classic issues that happens, which is, let's say the first one is hands. So I'm going to go on draft. I'm going to click a new one. Let's have a close-up shot of a hand modeling for product in a studio with high key lighting and fashion shoot. It's very clean and very aesthetic. So now it's literally going to give me a close-up shot of a hand modeling for the product. Let's just see what the prompt gives us. So you can see it is really, really nice. Even though I guess this one, I want to see what it does in upscale, because here I can see a little bit of a jank there. This one still looks better. And this one also has a little bit of a cut over there. But I think in general, it looks good. I'm still going to try to upscale this one. And speaking of upscale, you can see that this image is on the process. So this one we had. And then soon after, I made an upscale of this image. So we're going to see how that image also comes about. But in any case, I'm going to try another one. This time it's going to be a portrait and it's just going to be from my chain of my mind. I'm not going to be having a specific prompt because I want to see what draft mode can give us. We're going to go with just draft mode and see how that works. So if we already see, even in the upscale, even though it's taking like a 35% or whatever, it's still kind of having a little bit of an anomaly or a weirdness towards the hand. In any case, let's just go to a new draft mode and let's make a close-up portrait in a Rembrandt lighting of a model, a female fashion model wearing an haute couture and very avant-garde with a clean black background, and everything is very clean. It's low-key lighting, but the expression is very deep. Now that's a lot of things that really I want to see if it can actually play with it. And there you go. You can immediately see that it has the expressions. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and upscale one of them. So I want to see if actually it works. And also I'm going to actually try the same exact thing without the personalization. And then I want to just like see how that also holds up. And then I'm also going to be trying it with directly without the draft mode. And if I go back to version 6, so the minute you go to version 6, you don't get the draft mode. So the draft is only a new feature for version 7. If I go to 6.1, if I click on personalization and I turn it off, I just want to see the difference that you're going to get. So you can already see the personalization in Midjourney has always been a strength, in my opinion. It gives your prompts, no matter what, even if you use this, your specific character. So my Midjourney V7 profile is my specific character. On top of that, if you wanted to use your mood board, that would again further finesse it to fine tune it. And then you can see some of the images from here. This is from version 6. So you can see these are from V6. Now, honestly, I kind of like this one over here because this one is more true to the photographic angle that I was looking for. If I wanted to just like upscale this one, so let's upscale that. In the meantime, let's look over here. So yeah, you see the hand, even though it's doing well, it's still a lot more of an issue because you could see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it has like 4 fingers, but it has another finger coming out from here. I'm going to again go back over here and then let's just put this in a draft. And I want to try to further refine this and see where we come from there. Now, if we see this image and it's actually still processing, so I'm going to come back. Now here already we can see some issues with the hands. This is an issue that I have been seeing with Midjourney, not just Midjourney itself, but AI is having. Direct hand replication sometimes can be an issue. This is the most simplest use case scenario that I can show you how hands may be an issue. You might need to still refine it and work with it. But in general, I feel like this has a lot more potential. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and actually try one of my prompts from the past. So I'm going to take this prompt that I had. I'm not going to use the draft mode. I'm going to use my own personalization. I'm actually going to use one of my mood boards. I want to see how this one would actually play through. And if you haven't seen my video that I've made about Runway Gen 4, you can actually check it out right over here. This one is actually made specifically for that video. So if you have seen that video, if you've not seen that video, you can actually check out right over here. So I wanted to see what it would happen if I'm using my V7 and my mood board fashion. So this is the first example. And then I'm going to actually remove this one and just put the global profile. And then you can see that example as well. To be very honest with you, I like the angle that they're going with the fashion. They basically made it more fashion-esque, which kind of makes sense. That is my aesthetic for that one. Ooh, I like this one more. So I'm actually going to click on subtly upscale this one. I don't like this one as much. This one is more poetic, staying more true to my prompt, which is standing amidst a vast desert engulfed by a fierce sandstorm, their cloak billowing. So I kind of like this one. It has a bit of a drama. So I'm going to also upscale this one and check it out, how that works out. So clearly this one is a very good one. And this one is also V7. This one is also getting upscaled. Now, another thing I want to also try is crowded streets. So I'm going to make it in draft. So this is how I'm actually going to think of using it. This is how I'm thinking. Every time I'm going to think of a new use case or a new scene, I'm going to use the draft. If I like something in the draft, then I'm going to bring it into my standard mode. But in the beginning, I'm going to go in the draft mode. That's my way of thinking. So I'm going to click on draft here, and then I'm going to say for a more crowded scenario. And I'm also going to remove my global profile. I want to see how it actually works on its own. So I'm just going to turn it off, and I'm going to see how it works on its own. This actually looks really, really good. It doesn't look that bad. I mean, it kind of has a sense of depth and drama. I do like it with my profile, as opposed to this one also has its own kind of aesthetic because it's leaning more into that I have in my mood board, which is the fashion mood board. Mood boards are super fun to play with. You should definitely check it out. I'm going to do style references, image references, and character references later in another video. Today, I'm just focusing on version 7. Now, I'm going to create another new scene, and it's going to be have a bustling street of Japan, but from top-down shot, not like a bird's eye shot, and make it hyper-realistic of people crossing, having a lot of people in the scene, and it is very detailed and hyper-realistic, kind of like Where's Waldo, but very cinematic. Now that's a lot. That's a lot to take in. I want to see how it actually gives. You can immediately see it was almost instantaneous. It's also because I want to also preface it that I have my turbo on. So if you have your turbo on, it's going to be pretty damn fast. So you can see right over here, it's actually given us a lot of detail. I'm actually going to upscale one of these. I'm going to actually try to upscale this one over here. So let's try and see how this one stands, because usually that is another thing that sometimes does crack, in the sense sometimes some models like AI models are not able to generate multiple images of many people. Like we saw in one of these examples over here, even though some of the examples here you can see a nice bokeh in the background, a depth of field, but I wanted to see how that would look. In the meantime, I'm going to try another different scenario. Have a group of friends sitting together, laughing candidly as if they are posing for a candid photograph, a candid lifestyle photograph. Each of them look different and are of different looks and of different age range. Make it hyper realistic, very, very fashion. Now you see there, my conversation was completely just, it didn't have proper aesthetic to it, yet it was able to create a beautiful way of flowing the conversation. Obviously, you can also manually tweak it. And another thing I wanted to note is everybody looks, except for here, you have one anomaly. Here, everybody seems to be looking well. This is another challenge that AI usually has, is when we're talking about multiple people and the coherence with everybody. Here, we also have another person that has an issue with how it looks. I'm going to try and upscale this one. I want to see if it actually works. And then let's see how this one also fares in terms of, so this is obviously the image that was directly from. And then I'm going to actually try another thing. I'm going to actually use this one and then personalize it. Personalize it, and let's just press on that. You can see this draft mode, I feel, is the single best use case scenario. Immediately, the minute you see that I do the global profile, and the global profile, again, to preface, comes from your profile. So if you see your profile, and this is what you have to do to get your profile. So you have to click either on one or two. So here, if you click on this, it's basically shaping 1, 2, or 3. You can see on the top. So you can actually shape your profile based on how you want it to be. So my profile is going to be unique to me, as opposed to your profile will be unique to you. So even if you were to use my prompts, it's going to be a lot more different if you're using, let's say, my profile, as opposed to if you're using your profile. Now here it is a lot better, but still there are a few more anomalies which you will have to fix in post, probably in other places. But here you can see a few anomalies. I have seen that full body shots have always been a bit of an issue. I'm going to not do this in draft. I'm just going to see how this works on its own. Now in this one, there is a good bit of details here, which is nice. I'm actually going to upscale this one. And then let's see here. So it's a lot more warped and everything, but it still kind of looks nice. It's a lot of finer details. The level of coherence is definitely there. It does understand what I was trying to go for. It has definitely muddled up everything on the side here. Like you cannot see anything on the billboards. You cannot read anything. It's also because I have added a lot on the scene. Now that being said, if we see this one right over here, this feels a lot better. I feel like this one could be a lot more aesthetically pleasing. This also is not bad. Like if you wanted to generate people that are not there, but if you wanted to create something that also looks realistic, again, you will have to finesse it. With that being said, version 7, that was just the tip of the iceberg. After the recording of this video, you can also check my X, and I'm going to put a link down in the description. You can also check it there. In the meantime, if you like this video, you might also like this video right over here, because YouTube thinks you might want to watch this video. You could also watch this video right over here, because this was my last video. And you can also check out this playlist. This is a Midjourney playlist, and it's going to be updated as more and more videos I'm going to be updating about Midjourney. Since this is new update after 8 months since 6.1, you can expect more updates coming up soon. And until the next time, catch you later.